Dice Company contains fantasy violence, mature themes, and unapologetic bickering. No feelings were hurt in the making of it, but listener discretion is advised. Dice Company will always be free, but it's not free to make. Please consider supporting us on Patreon or Apple Podcasts and get access to our weekly roundtable show Extra Roll. Just follow any of the links in the show notes for this chapter.
Welcome one and all to Dice Company's Small Embers Chapter 70, where a group of friends weave tales of triumph, heroism and despair under the guise of playing Dungeons & Dragons. My name is Tom, and I'll be your DM through the continuing adventures of the Order of the Heron. Order of the Heron, please introduce yourselves.
Hello. Hi, I'm Charlie, and I play Vander Finnick.
Hi, I'm Harry, and I play Tok, an imposing 6'8" automaton.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I play Seeksorrow.
Hi, I'm Dave, and I play Petron Oakflower.
Some housekeeping. Don't forget to check out our companion podcasts, Extra Roll and Around the Campfire, our Discord server, the Dicecord, the greatest community in all of TTRPGs, our official website, dicecompanypodcast.com, for merchandise, and follow us on Bluesky, TikTok, and YouTube. Links can be found in the show notes. And please remember, the oldest form of theatre is the dinner table. It's got 4 people, the same players, but a new show every night. It is, in theory, a good ensemble, because the people have worked together a lot. So let's turn the page on the next chapter of Small Embers. Previously on Small Embers. Months have passed since the events of Frost Hollow. The Order of the Heron, having recovered and relaxed in the safety of Sanctuary, finally have a new path stretching out before them. Vander, absent for weeks on end, returned in the new year with information relating to a potential Alokian benediction in his hometown, specifically in his family home. Wishing to pursue the lead, you all took off aboard the newly upgraded airship, the Sterling, crewed by Tick, Little Tick, Plex, Otis, and the 2 automatons reprogrammed by Tok. It is the 3rd of midwinter, and the frosty air rips across the poop deck as the Sterling cruises towards its destination. We are 4 days out. Alex, please roll me a D20.
17.
It is plain sailing for the whole of the first day's travel.
Yes!
As the first day comes to an end, you all gather in the galley, surrounded by the flora and fauna of Tok's botany.
Soup is ready. When Seeksorrow comes to the joins like the rest of the party along, at the table, Tok will say, "Seeksorrow, it is customary for the humans to tell stories about their short lives whilst eating soup."
Thanks, Tok. This isn't going to shorten my life, is it? This soup, is it? Do we know it's safe for humans?
Technically, yes.
Seeksorrow lets the word technically slide past and takes a bowl of soup and heads for a seat at the table.
Did I hear a mention of soup?
Indeed, Vander.
Marvelous.
And Vander shuffles over to receive his portion of soup.
Today's soup is mayonnaise soup.
I see. Mayonnaise soup talk. I will assume that you have taken over from our regular cooking schedule.
That is correct. I have been experimenting.
With all the botany around us, I am surprised you found the time. Well, it is food of the gods soup, so I will entertain it.
And Vander takes his bowl.
And Petron comes in from where he's been busying himself outside and says, "Oh, Tok, you've been cooking, have you? You know you didn't need to. I'm more than happy to prepare all the meals, but this looks it looks lovely, Tok. Well done. I'd love to give it a try. Thank you very much." And he takes as small a bowl as it's possible to do politely and goes and sits at the table.
Seeksorrow, who took a huge bowl before realising this was mayonnaise soup, just looks at Petron and Vander to try and get some kind of lead on whether we're actually eating this stuff.
Do not be disturbed, Seeksorrow. Soup is by definition free of challenging bites that will be hard to digest, so one of the main food hurdles has already been crossed.
There was significant challenge, though, Vander. The lack of eggs on the ship.
Again, Talk, I am intrigued to see what you have conjured.
And Vander takes some of the soup and swallows it down.
I mean,
eggless mayonnaise soup. Seeksorrow, for a big man, Seeksorrow very daintily lays down his spoon.
Tok, I feel like this might be a herbalist tools check.
Hell yeah.
Add it to the list.
There we go. What did I roll? 29.
I mean, you could say it's the greatest eggless mayonnaise soup ever, but it's definitely the only eggless mayonnaise soup ever, so by default it is.
Well, it's not necessarily eggless mayonnaise. It's just that there weren't any eggs on board the ship when Tok started making it.
Okay.
So, are there eggs in it?
Maybe.
Okay, so what we have here is a perfect, potentially eggless mayonnaise soup. And by perfect, I mean if you imagine mayonnaise mixed with water, potentially mayonnaise made without eggs, and imagine what that tastes like, it is exactly that.
oh, perfect.
Vander smacks his chapped lips.
By God, Talk, you've done it again. This is a triumph, even among the finest of soups. I will admit doubting you for a second. Thinking, of course, of the near-complete lack of eggs aboard the Sterling, plus your total inability to sense either food or smell, one would be forgiven for imagining that the rather appropriately named mayonnaise soup would be somewhat of a culinary disaster. But you have won through.
Your gratification is appreciated, Vander.
Seeksorrow takes a spoonful and concludes that this is indeed a culinary disaster. It might be perfect, but the terms of reference were so poor to start with that perfection is still a disaster.
And Patron has a small spoonful and says, "Very nice talk. Well done." Patron's a bit put out actually because he's been doing a lot of cooking in Sanctuary in order to feed all the villagers, and he's feeling a little bit usurped, to be honest, by Tok taking over the cooking, and obviously doing such a fine job of it as well.
Yep, they're clearly going to demand more mayonnaise soup, and Patron will never cook again.
Yeah, Vander's not been appreciating all the delicious fresh vegetables and produce he's received while living their life at Sanctuary. But now the mayonnaise soup's out, he's all like, "Oh, Tok, it's delicious, it's the best."
Seeksorrow eases his bowl away on the table and says, "So, lads, what do you talk about on these long air voyages?"
Try not to overthink the soup.
And Vander pushes it back.
I can produce more if you wish. So Tok will remove an armor piece towards the waistline, and a small tube comes out, and out of it sort of slowly glugs mayonnaise into a small bowl. I believe it to be summoned from another plane.
You might need a roll for this, Dom, but Seeksorrow is going to attempt to realistically accidentally spill his soup out of the window.
Get out of the window, not just on the floor.
He's going to have an involuntary action, like a leg twitch when you're going to sleep, except it's going to be
spasm.
Picking up the bowl and throwing it to oblivion.
Well, let's do a performance check to see whether people can tell whether it's real or not, and then we'll have an athletics check to see how your aim is.
Okay. That's 16 for performance and 25 for athletics.
The rest of you see as Seeksorrow has an involuntary spasm in his muscles, and his bowl of mayonnaise soup just flies clean out the window.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Tok. That was delicious. That happens from time to time to me. Please don't replace it. I couldn't take any more of your soup off you. You give it to the other boys. I'll get some of Petron's food later.
That is all right. Seeksorrow. There are plenty more bowls on the Sterling. Vander has an endless supply of glassware.
That's fine. In my culture, if you accidentally throw your bowl out the window, you can't eat again for the next 12 hours. So we'll talk about it later.
Your culture, Seeksorrow? A rich vein of conversation. Please, tell me more of this alien culture of yours.
I can't, I'm afraid.
And yet you stand before us soupless, and the best person to start a rousing conversation to pass the time as crews for many a year before us move in this very galley.
Yeah, well, happy to chat while I go through my 12-hour soup-related penance.
Of course, maybe you can begin with when you first began suffering involuntary spasms.
Oh, since I was a little boy. Can't really remember when it started.
Must have been most challenging for a gravedigger.
Yes, no, it's not the best. Maybe we should just, never speak about this again. Sensitive subject for me. It probably won't happen again. Probably be fine.
Well, tell us something about yourself that you are comfortable sharing then, Seeksorrow. It doesn't need to be about your Twitch.
Don't be scared, Seeksorrow. We've had the most peculiar array of crewmates. One, I remember, had webbed toes.
What's wrong with webbed toes? That seems perfectly normal to me. It's not something...
Humans find such things disgusting, Veteran.
No, I don't think that's true, Tuck. I've never heard that before in my life.
Relitigating our old characters.
You may trust, Petron, that the sight is a gruesome one.
Where is my mayonnaise soup?
That little tick.
Yep.
Can't eat.
He wants to be part of the crew.
Tock will set a bowl down.
And his little face cliff opens and a small little straw comes out and he dips it in.
Sorry, just looks at that and shakes his head and decides that he's got to move things on. So he goes, well, I'm glad you asked, Petron. I suppose what I'd say about myself is that the men that went before me with the name Seeksorrow have tended to come to slightly unfortunate ends. They've all had grim jobs. I guess it's the name.
And can I ask you a question, which I've been wondering? Is Seeksorrow your first name or your surname, or both?
Well, it's my second name. I'll come to the first name because I guess that's what I could talk about. So, Dad was a Seeksorrow, and in the tradition of the name, he was a noose maker. We're all big men, Seeksorrow men, and we tend to have quite grim jobs, noose makers, undertakers, that sort of thing. And he did live up to the name, I suppose you might say, live down to the name. Died of dysentery, old Dad, sorry to say. But my mum was different. She's always fun, she's always laughing. And she really wanted me to be like that. And so when Dad wanted to take me to, funerals, public hangings, that sort of thing, in the tradition of the name, as his dad did with him, she always said no. And she wanted us to do silly stuff. So we used to play games, make up songs. Sometimes we even did pranks. And like, for example, one day we balanced a bucket of water on top of the door when my uncle, my mum's brother, was due to come round. But unfortunately, a blue cloak came round. He wanted a noose from Dad for a hanging, and the bucket fell on his head, and he was really, really angry, really pissed off. And he was still raging at me and Mum when Dad came home, and Dad tried to calm him down, and we hid in the back room, and we couldn't stop laughing. And when the blue cloak left, Dad came and found us, and he tried to tell us off, but we were just still laughing and laughing. And he looked at us like we were mad. He just couldn't understand, poor old Dad just couldn't understand what we were doing. And so that was kind of the battle of my childhood, really. Mum's still around. As I say, Dad's gone, but Seeksorrow obviously was the second name, so I was stuck with that. But Mum wanted me to be cheerful, so she chose the first name. And the name, I'm a bit embarrassed, really, because it seems a bit of a silly name to me, really, but I could see what Mum was trying to do. So she called me Oberon. I don't go, but it doesn't really fit me, if you know what I mean. I see what she was trying to do. Something about the King of the Fairies or something, I'm not really sure, but I like to think of myself as Oberon, but I am a Seeksorrow. I'm a big brute, I suppose, and that's that's in my blood as well. But I like to think I can be Oberon as well, and that's maybe why I'm here with you lot on this adventure, trying to explore my Oberon side after digging the graves and chopping heads off people that came up out of them, and particularly grim and, you know, fighting a vampire and all that sort of thing. Maybe we'll find happier, more exciting times with you guys.
Grim jobs often make for the most useful people, Oberon. And sometimes the man becomes the name, and other times, when one is quite extraordinary, the man changes his name.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, every Seeksorrow man, as far back as I've been able to trace, died in sad ways, kicked by horses, and my granddad was a clown, just died of sadness. Rare case, actually, the doctor said. But I'd like to break that tradition. I'd like to, I don't know, live to a grand old age, or maybe just die doing something fun, just something better. At least I fight my destiny. My mum reads books. She says it's called nominative determinism. You live up to your name, you live down to your name. If you're called Thatcher, you thatch houses. And if you're called Seeksorrow, you get kicked to death by a horse.
Well, Seeksorrow, I cannot promise you illustrious long life, but I can confirm that no crewmate of the Sterling has ever shit themselves to death.
That's good to know. No horses on board, I guess.
Not so. There have indeed been horses here before, but not currently.
Well, that's fine. Just don't walk behind them. That's my lesson, I'd say. Just, never go around the back of a horse. Just bad stuff all round, really, that.
Sage advice.
And would you like us to call you Oberon or Seeksorrow? What do you prefer?
I think Seeksorrow, if that's all right, gents. The Oberon is under the surface. Seeksorrow is my armour, maybe. Because it's a rough world. We're going to be doing dangerous things. And so think of me as Seeksorrow in a fight. But remember, there's a little Oberon inside as well.
You notice Tok, just looking at you quizzically.
Not literally, Mr. Tok. I'm still just one person. But just thinking, I'm the little boy as well as the big nasty man. Maybe as you'd say, a seed is also the tree.
Ah, it is understood. Seeksorrow. Query. If nominative determinism has such power, why are humans not named for more positive aspects?
Well, I suppose that's what my mum tried to do. Don't know whether people really believe it or not, but, when generations of your family have shit themselves to death, you need to take these things seriously, don't you?
That is correct. I can imagine an experiment to determine the validity of such beliefs.
Well, that sounds quite exciting. And in a way, you're the same, right? You're ticking and tocking along, living up to your names. Ticks making Toks and Toks making ticks.
That is correct.
I am Little Tick.
Hello, Little Tick. You're right. We've got Oak Flower here, protecting the forest from vampires. Not sure about Finnick. What's Finnick?
I believe, Oberon, that a man carves his way through life as this ship carves its way through the air. The destination is set, but how one arrives there is one's own choice.
I can live with that. I know the destination's the grave in the end. I know that as well as anyone. But I'd like to take a less straight route than some of my forefathers.
That is well, for our route will no doubt take in some considerable meanders. Forgive me, gentlemen. The night draws in, and I must now attend to the ship's steering before we turn in. Thank you again, Tok. Your soup was an unexpected delight. Perhaps tomorrow, Petron, you could take over for the sake of variety.
I would find that to be acceptable.
But if you're sure you don't mind, Tok, I don't want to put you out or step on your toes or anything.
I do not mind, Petron. I may offer an inexhaustible supply of mayonnaise.
I'm not sure that any of my recipes use mayonnaise, but I'll certainly look it up. Thank you very much, Tok.
A lesser man might feel threatened by that comment, Tok.
Threatened by mayonnaise, Vander?
Yes, if it is indeed from a truly endless supply, in a place where there are no eggs, but maybe a matter to ponder while I go about the ship's doings.
I would find that to be acceptable.
Of course you would. Good night, gentlemen.
I'm just amazed I got away with saying that I didn't want to step on Tok's toes and...
I was thinking
Exactly the same. I was like, but I have no toes. wake up the following day, the 4th of Midwind. Petron, please roll me a d20.
Here we go. 10.
Another day of plain sailing.
You are welcome, everybody.
Once again, you gather in the galley at the end of the day.
I apologize, boys, for the slight interruptions the day has brought us. While our new elemental is most enthusiastic for the job, his craft needs some work.
Well, I've brought us all something to eat anyway. I hope you all enjoy it. And laid out on the table is just a selection of beautifully prepared vegetables of all different sorts, like roasted sweet potato and steamed. It's like these days you get nourish bowls. Yeah, it's like that. Fresh green beans, probably some pickles in there. Petron loves a pickle. Some mushrooms, seeds to put on top as a sort of seasoning. I mean, it's the kind of thing that is probably delicious, but you would never order it if you're going outside.
This is a veritable feast, Petron. I thank you.
And Vander begins taking bits from all the plates, placing it in a bowl, and mashing it into a paste.
And Petron attempts not to look too crestfallen, and succeeds.
You hear a slurp.
And I am quite satisfied with the result. This is most delicious, Petron.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Vander. Seeksorrow, please, help yourself. Have as much as you like. There's plenty there. Talk and I have managed to set up the ship, so we've got a little bit of a mini small holding going on, so we can restock quite easily.
Oh, great. Yeah, thank you. This is really good. Seeksorrow is just shoveling food into his mouth. He's just glad it's not mayonnaise soup. And obviously he did starve himself yesterday out of a made-up tradition that meant he couldn't eat any more mayonnaise soup.
You will need to make use of your vast strength aboard, Seeksorrow, to keep your spirits up. Maybe tomorrow we can teach you some of the workings of the Sterling.
Yeah, that'd be good. Thanks, Vander. Yeah, I want to learn to sail while we're up here. Nothing else to do, is there?
Indeed. Every crew member must have a use.
I was just trying to think if Seeksorrow was spicy enough to ask Vander what his use was, but I decided he wasn't.
Boo! Vander's eyes narrow.
I sense you have a question, Seeksorrow. Allow me to answer. I am, of course, the captain of the Sterling, and as such am utterly indispensable. That is my use.
Oh, well, yeah, very good. I thought you were an admiral, weren't you?
I am, of course, an admiral, but such is my vast experience of the skies that I can do many tasks at once.
And you get a three-toothed smile.
Very good. Good to know. Well, I'll definitely like to learn. It sounds like you're the man to teach me.
You're in most capable hands. Petron, again I see you have spent the day creating this feast. If I were a suspicious man, I might wonder if you are trying to outdo Tok's efforts yesterday.
Oh, not at all, Vander. I'm just very fond of cooking and very fond of feeding people and helping them, really. I haven't got any ulterior motive, Tok. I hope you weren't taking it as such.
The small holding on the Sterling is appreciated.
Oh, thank you very much.
It depresses me that the crew does not understand the value of a little friction. But there we are. Perhaps we will turn to destruction as the conversational feast of the evening. Petron, after your isolation, I assume you found our diversions most entertaining. What did you take away from your experience back in the warp and weft of the world?
Do you mean our time in Sanctuary, Vander?
I do.
Right, you are. You've got away with words, haven't you? Well, it was interesting. It was interesting to me. I've got to be honest, though. It brought up a lot of memories. Good ones and bad, to be honest. Being among a small community brought back so vividly the time I spent among the villagers at Frozen Clee. Well, the place was a lot smaller than Sanctuary, just a couple of dozen souls, really. I suppose I'd tell you a little bit about how I came to know that place. Well, it was after the event that I now know was Storm's Fall. I found myself alone and rather purposeless. I hadn't understood what happened to me at all. I'd just been this surge of destructive energy, and it had taken everything. I didn't know what to do, and after some time wandering, I found this spot, lovely place by a waterfall, and it seemed ideal for a grove, so I thought I'd try to set up a home there for lack of any better ideas. But I was angry. I was so angry, I felt abandoned by the nourisher, and my connection with the place was frayed somehow. So I was really struggling, I was scraping by. I was apathetic about what might happen to me, really. But then one day I was fishing, sort of half-heartedly in the water, and I saw these two children sitting on the rocks, and they were crying. I knew they were humans. I'd had no dealings with humans to this point, and so I thought about hiding until they went away, but they looked so sad, I couldn't bring myself to do it. And so I went over to them, and to my great surprise, they weren't frightened of me at all. And they told me they were from a nearby hamlet, but they'd got lost, and they were now scared and hungry. And so I got some chestnuts I'd been roasting, and I took them home. I mean, it was simple, I just had to retrace their footsteps. There was no bother at all. They hadn't even thought about it. And they'd been away long enough, their parents were at their wits' ends with worry. And so I got a warm welcome to that village, frozen clee, like I say. And while they insisted I come in and ate with them, and they were very generous. They shared their food with me, and I could see they only had a little. They were struggling to grow good crops in that harsh land up there. They weren't really farmers, you see. They'd left Frost Hollow due to some sort of argument. I think it was something to do with religion. I didn't really follow it at the time, though, and I could see, they weren't doing so well. So the next day, I returned with a few seeds and cuttings and things like that, gave them a few tips on what grows best where and all that sort of thing. And then the children, their names were Isaiah and Isabella, and they started visiting me, you see. I taught them how to forage, how to fish. I taught them which mushrooms were safe, and then I was welcome in the village for a while there. I was still an outsider. I knew that, but I felt sort of accepted, and useful. I was useful again. I had a bit of purpose. I was helping the community to thrive. I could feel my bond with the nourisher healing, and it was a really happy time for me. Really happy. And that's when something shifted, though, in the land. I know now that it was the beginning of the Oromicus, and it was like the early stages of a terrible illness, a terrible sickness that just grew worse and worse, and crops started failing, and fruits died on the vine, and at the same time that the taxes were growing, the new lord was making life harder. My magic worked less and less over time, and it came to a point where it was only effective in the grove, where I most connected with the nourisher, you see, and it didn't work at all on the crops in the village, and so as their lives got harder, the people got harder. There was also this new chap in town. He was an Ericsson loyalist, and he encouraged this hardness. I felt he got people to use their anger for warmth and for heat, and he poisoned their minds against me. He told them it was my fault the crops had failed. It was my fault that they were starving, and then one night they came to my grove with pitchforks and with stones, and they came in Ericsson's name. And the children there, Isaiah and Isabella, they were there. Their parents had made them throw rocks at me, and they were crying as they did it. And I was crying, and I only just got out. The whole grove went up in flames, and so I went wandering again, and eventually I set up a new grove, and well, that's where you found me. I tried to work out what to do next, but I'd been thinking about it for about 8 years or so when you turned up. So helping out around Sanctuary it's reminded me so much of those times. Tending the gardens and helping make the place ship-shape and feeding people good, nourishing food. It's brought me so much joy, Did you know there's even someone called Isabella there? We've become quite good friends, actually. Although I think she's a bit sad, but she won't say why. Anyway, it's been wonderful, but the thing is, it can all just go away, can't it? It can all just go away like that, so I don't know.
Wounded into isolation, patron. A sad tale indeed. And things, as you say, always change, but change is not always bad. Look at your circumstances now. Coasting the skies on your way to the next question mark, surrounded by new friends and comrades, enjoying fine health paste.
That's a very interesting way of looking at it.
Vander, do you refer to the mayonnaise or to the vegetables?
In this instance, Talk, I refer to the vegetables. But Petron, tell me more of this nourisher you speak of. An intriguing notion.
Well, I think I mentioned her before. She's the goddess that I worship, the goddess of the land and of nature. She provides for all of us, and she controls the great cycles of the world, the birth and death and rebirth. It's all given to us by the nourisher, and our role, we believe, as furbolgs, is to just try to help maintain that balance. She's very powerful all around us, but I feel it most closely in my grove. I just know her as the nourisher.
That is a good name, Petron.
Sounds to me, Petron, like maybe you're having the same struggle that I've always thought was just mine, trying to break out of the Seeksorrow line. Maybe you and everyone else is doing the same thing. You say it can all go up in smoke at any time. Maybe that's true of anything, but that might not be a reason to be gloomy. It might be a reason to think everything can go all right at any time as well. Maybe we just have to keep fighting that battle, and sometimes we'll lose, and sometimes we'll win. Or sometimes we'll be winning for now. And for right now, it seems like maybe we are.
You refer to the cycles of life, Seeksorrow.
I don't know, talk about gods and cycles, and what I'm thinking, I suppose, is a bit simpler. Just sometimes everything burns down, sometimes everything's all right, and maybe we just have to keep things all right for as long as we can.
Well said, Seeksorrow. What is the purpose of fire, other than to burn things down and thereby make space for the new? And those enterprising few among us can capitalize on such delights.
Well,
You've got an interesting perspective on the world, haven't you, Vander, right? You've noticed that in the time we've got together, right?
You cannot control everything around you, Petron, so it is best to twist in the wind.
But Vander, you are often the source of the wind,
If there is no wind, Talk, one must create it.
and thus benefit from it, Vander.
And may much twisting ensue.
Seeksorrow just stares at his pile of vegetables, thinking he's not quite sure what Vander's saying anymore.
On Tok's tablet on the table, you can see him drawing up some schematics for a windmill.
He's crossed out the holy sign.
Yeah.
It is the 5th of midwinter, and the temperature outside has dropped dramatically since you departed. Tok, roll me a d20, please.
Okay. This is for the next day.
For day 3.
9! And I don't mean no. I mean I rolled a 9.
The 3rd consecutive day of plain sailing.
Wonderful. Human muscles atrophy if not used, Seeksorrow. Would you care to train so that they do not weaken?
Thanks, Tok. That'd be great. I mean, I've been moving around. I don't just stand still. But yeah, definitely would like to train. Thanks very much.
I have prepared these weapons. They are a prototype that I was making for Bardal Schultz. They do not harm one when in combat. And Tok will pass you a. It just looks like a carved stick.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah. All right, Tok. What shall I do with it?
Tok's given you one that's basically a quarterstaff, about the same size as Seeksorrow's axe, and Tok has one as well, and his shield, and isn't really gonna tell him what to do. He's gonna assume that Seeksorrow understands how to do training.
Otis, bring the Admiral's deck chair and one exotic cheroot.
Yes, Vander. And he returns with a deck chair.
And Vander sits down to watch.
Vander, being the perceptive chap he is, you notice as Tok takes up his weapon, Tok's hands, his gauntlets look different. They've subtly changed. The inside, instead of being like the metallic surface that it always used to be, like a dull metal, it's now like a pale pinkish yellow colour. It looks soft, but kind of, it still seems to be gripping the sword fine. And Tok and Seeksorrow obviously start training. It doesn't seem to have affected his martial capability at all, but it definitely looks very different.
Vander's eyes narrow at that, and he thinks while watching them train.
Let's have an opposed athletics check to see who is better at dueling.
So, to make it clear, Tok isn't trying to necessarily win as much as help Seeksorrow improve, since he learned from Vander.
I mean, Seeksorrow's not trying to win exactly, but he's got a slightly sort of kid trying to impress his dad vibe going on with Vander at the moment, because Vander's claimed to be the admiral of the fleet, and so Seeksorrow's trying to kind of prove himself a little bit. So he's not trying to hurt Tok, but he's definitely trying to, do well in the sparring. So, athletics check.
Roll off.
That is a natural 20 for 27.
Well done. Tok gets an 11.
Seeksorrow strikes Tok off the side of the Sterling. Die, foul robot!
Please describe what happens, Al.
So, Tok plods towards Seeksorrow, swinging his pugil stick around, and Seeksorrow just ducks one clumsy thing and just brings the end of his staff up onto Tok's face cliff, just lifts him off his feet, lies him down on his back, and then brushes a mote of dust from the shoulder of his jacket. Sorry, Tok, I didn't really mean to beat the shit out of you.
Without getting up, you see Tok saying, "That is very impressive, Seeksorrow. You have much skill. Vander, do you have advice?"
You must watch your guard, Tok, as you have been told near 1,000 times, but do not fear. Losing is a better teacher than I could ever be. Protect your face cliff in future.
And Seeksorrow looks a bit sheepish, and he holds out a hand to pull Tok up again.
Seeksorrow, give me a perception check, please.
16.
You can hear the clunking feet of little Tick as he moves quickly towards you at your rear.
Oh, it's all right, little Tick. Just practicing. Tok, you better tell little Tick we're just having a game.
I must avenge my father.
All right, Seeksorrow stops trying to help Tok and turns to defend himself against little Tick.
Vander shoots out a hand.
Otis, let this happen.
Yes, Vander.
Seeksorrow gonna have to beat up a tiny robot now.
Yeah, apparently.
Little Tick swings an oversized wooden club at your face, but you're able to easily duck it, and the momentum of the swing spins him around, and he falls face first onto the floor of the poop deck.
And Seeksorrow's laughing now slightly. He goes, Tok, call off the guards. It's all right, little Tick. Come on, Tok, tell him it's just a game.
Father, this is embarrassing.
Yeah, it is, little man.
Little Tick, desist. This is training. It is not combat. I am not hurt.
I find that to be acceptable.
Maybe we should get you to a bit of practice, little Tick. Wasn't the best shot you took at me there.
My father has trained me with the spear and shield.
Tok will get back up, and we'll let little Tick do some sparring with Seeksorrow.
Okay, Seeksorrow is going to have a lot of fun with this. So like a father playing with his little kid, he kind of tries to practice fight with little Tick at just the right level, letting him get a few hits in, but also kind of holding him off, giving him a kind of fun rough and tumble so that he can throw a few shots, but obviously not quite letting him win either.
You have done well, little Tick.
Thank you, Father.
He's the Scrappy Doo of this gang, and just as unpopular.
Do Automata go through puberty as his voice dropped really early?
Well, Actually, you would never seen an automaton child before. In fact, no one would have.
Well, I don't think Petron's has seen an automaton or anything.
Well, I
before.
suppose Vander would know best, having seen automatons before. But they're made as, they're constructed as adults, as it were. They don't grow in size after they're made.
Vander rises and shuffles over.
A most impressive display, little tick. You're a fighter, which is well. Talk. I couldn't help but notice that there is a change in you.
And Vander's eyes rest on Tok's hands.
They almost look humanoid, if I may put it that way.
Tok lifts his hands up so that the rest of the party can see, and will say, "Indeed, Vander, they are skin from a human source. It has been overlaid over a support matrix. It offers superior haptic feedback or manual dexterity."
Allow me to take my turn to clear a matter from the conversational air. Are you saying, Tok, that this is literal human skin you have appropriated?
Negative, Vander. It has been grown from a sample.
Ah, infinitely more reassuring. And this gives you the sensation of touch, one assumes.
That is correct.
Fascinating, Tok. I confess I have never heard the like. Are you planning to graft more of this to your exoskeleton?
Not at the current time, Vander. The extra feedback has limitations for pain, for damage. It is not as resilient as metal armor.
So you can feel pain through your hands now?
I have always been capable of feeling pain, Vander, through the wood of my body. The hands are more sensitive.
I was not aware. Otis has never referred to pain receptors. Are you different to him as well?
That is correct. I am sentient.
Of course, though I would suspect Otis of late would debate the issue. However, it is still a very interesting development. I am intrigued, but be careful, Tok. Humanity comes with downsides as well as benefits.
Indeed, Vander?
Well, pain and frailty are known in the human condition, and skin, being the biggest organ of the body, is the king of them all.
Noted, Vander. I will take good care of your skin.
My skin, Tok?
I misspoke, Vander. The skin belongs to me.
A matter I am not willing to probe. I will, however, retire to my deck chair and go through a few complicated emotions now.
And Vander sits down.
It is the 6th of midwinter, and the icy winds have died down slightly. Vander, can you please roll me a d20?
Don't fail us.
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm just stepping up to the plate after 3 perfect rolls. 11.
And the day passes without incident.
Perfect run.
Late on in the day, as the sun is beginning to set, Vander, you notice in the distance the lights of your destination honing into view.
Otis, be so good as to call the crew to the poop deck.
Yes, Vander.
Gentlemen, I trust your dinner was satisfying.
It's 50-50 based on previous experience.
Petron has made mushroom surprise.
It's a surprise that it's mayonnaise soup.
The surprise is it's just mushrooms.
They're magical.
Yeah, it's been all right, thanks, Vander. Yeah, very nice.
I was impressed by the variety of mushroom species that Petron was able to grow.
What every chef loves to hear, Tok.
That's the wonderful thing about mushrooms, Vander. You'd think a mushroom dish with only mushrooms would be quite boring, wouldn't you? But there's so many different flavours and textures and smells and sights that actually it's a wonderful treat with every mouthful. That's what I think anyway, but I suppose I am a little more passionate about mushrooms than the average person.
I look forward to mashing it into a digestible paste in just a few moments, Petron.
Petron looks like he's going to say something and then does not.
Can I interest you in a cheroot?
And Vander opens a case.
I wouldn't say no to a little cheroot. It's the herbs. He enjoys herbs. Yeah. He's okay with herbs. Crack on.
There is a little magic in a passion shared, is there not, Petron?
I suppose that's true, Vander.
And of course, other crewmates may partake if they are of a mind.
And Vander holds the case out.
Yeah, I'll give it a go. Thanks, Vander. Yeah, was up for an adventure.
Excellent. Expect the most peculiar dreams.
I would be interested in an experiment, Vander. And Tok will hold out his hand as well.
Vander places the cheroot in his hand.
On condition that there are no more skin-related experiments relating to my person, Tok, you understand?
Understood, Vander.
Is Tok going to analyse how many international laws are being broken by Vander's concoction?
There is no such thing as international law, Seeksorrow.
Oh, that's good to know. Thanks. I was really talking out of character there, Tok, to be honest.
Okay, cool. In which case, Al, I don't think there's really anything like international law.
No, I didn't think so either.
Metagaming? Maybe? I don't know. Certainly Peanut Gallery, surely.
I don't think it's gaming.
At this point, stop conversing.
We're just talking about whether fiction's real in funny voices at a certain point.
Yeah. Is that the lights of the city up ahead, Vander?
Well observed, Petron. It is the lights of our destination indeed.
And Vander gestures at the distant lights.
Seeksorrow scrambles to his feet. He's very keen to find something exciting like this, so he forgets his mushrooms.
How does it feel, Vander? Is it going home?
As you know by now, Petron, I am an open book. So I do indeed feel. Do you notice the light at the pinnacle of the cluster you see in the distance?
I think so.
That is the tallest part of the Mourner's Keep, the central citadel of the city of Shale, my home.
Why did you leave, Vander? What brings you out of your city?
A veritable array of reasons. A good question, Seeksorrow. You are most perceptive. More to the point, I am returning, and it is time to take you into some of the details of my travel over the weeks we were parted back in Sanctuary. Tok may remember, I did this once before, and journeyed to a nearby town to seek advice on the crafting of a new iteration of my trusty flintlock.
And Vander opens his cloak to show the flintlock.
That is correct.
My second journey there was rewarded not just with little upgrades, but also with fresh information. There is an acquaintance in that town who recognized me for who I once was, Cyril Highmore, a noble in the city you see before you. We had a most interesting conversation in which he relayed to me that he was perplexed by my need to better equip myself when I had access to a far greater item of power. This, I confess, was news to me. He explained that my family possess a ring of mysterious power. Power he referred to as an Alokian benediction. This was most interesting for reasons you are no doubt aware of. I have business in Shale, boys, but for the purposes of our wider goals, one of our primary goals in visiting Shale is not just to revisit my rather checkered past, but to obtain the ring and to use it in our fight to restore balance, as Petron so adequately placed it in the hands of the entity he calls the Nourisher. Shale is a most industrial place, bustling streets, music, but underneath lies a city of some shadowy past deeds, and a noble class bereft, having found themselves on the losing side of the Great War. We must tread carefully and make sure that, in visiting Shale, we do not disturb the delicate Empire powers that now infest that place. I estimate we are less than a day's travel from there now, so I suggest we enjoy this cheroot and the dreams it will bring us, and then prepare for what must now come.
Query, Vander. Were you aware of this ring's existence in your previous life?
It is an ugly artifact my father coveted, and I shared little interest for. Though, I do remember him having an unusual perception of events, a matter I thought was the origin of my own quite exquisite cunning. But it appears he may have had help. Of course, Tok, I will preempt your next question. I am unique, and this is further proof. But the ring may further enhance our ability to achieve our ends, and has now become important.
What are our ends exactly, Vander, in your mind? I don't know that we've ever really defined them.
Good question, Petron. We all come to the same end, I believe, through different means. For you, we wish to restore balance. For Seeksorrow, we wish to adventure and find a new side to ourselves to complete the tapestry of our lives. For Tok, we aim to learn, to experience, and to uphold a peculiar and inscrutable ethical code. And for myself, I delight in all things new and have a couple of stops to make along the way.
Query, Petron. Did you refer to the goal of killing the Empire?
Well, I don't know, Tok. I suppose I did. I had a clear goal when Ericsson was there, when we were moving towards the destruction of Ericsson and towards the destruction of the Oromicus, and now my goal's less clear in my mind, but I think Vander might have expressed it quite well. It's balance, and this world feels out of balance, doesn't it? And so I think I told you the other day, I spent a long time trying to work out what to do. I was 8 or 9 years in that grove on my own, just sitting, waiting for exactly the right thing to do. Just the perfect thing that would solve everything. And then I think I've realised that maybe just action. You have to feel like you're doing something, and this is it. Maybe something else would be better, but this is what I've got now.
When one draws first blood on the chessboard, only to find they've killed a pawn, it is natural, Petron, to want the blood of the king.
Sorry, that was amazing.
Genuinely amazing.
I've never thought about chess as wanting blood.
I'm not sure you've interpreted what I mean quite perfectly, Vander, but it was very beautifully expressed.
Understand you entirely, Petron. We will quench the unquenchable thirst.
I don't know that you do. No,
Tame the imbalance.
I'm really not too sure about this.
Kill our way to the truth.
Why don't we just...
Vegetables for all, whether they wish them or not.
You express something quite eloquently. Let's just leave it there. How about that? Don't make me get Cuthbert on you.
Vander shudders at that.
If I could jump in before Vander gets carried away. I didn't really know what Ericsson was. I'm ashamed about that. I'm sorry for what happened to you because of what he was doing. But I do know a bit about the Emperor, and I can confirm he is a right bastard.
How have you come across the Emperor then, Seeksorrow?
That's a long story, but I would say that anything we can do to hurt him, to stand against him, would be worth doing for its own sake. Whatever else there is about kings and pawns or prawns or whatever Vander was on about.
I do like hyperbole, Seeksorrow, and it appears you have buried more than bodies with your shovel. Secrets, too, abound. Those lights over there detail the time we have to hear your tale, and I have more cheroots than is needed to hear it in full.
I don't know about that, Vander. I don't know. This is the time to talk about it. We can see the lights of your city and challenges ahead. But maybe one day I'll tell you the story about the day I met the Emperor.
Most intriguing, says Vander. I look forward to finding out what becomes of us in Shale, And, of course, what your meeting with the Emperor involved.
Let's hope I meet him again, with my axe in hand.
Always useful to have a gravedigger as part of the crew. Now I suggest we to bed. A big day for us all tomorrow.
Vander, the day is the same size as the previous day.
Talk. I wasn't referring to you because, of course, you do not sleep and often ruin my finesse in conversational terms.
If I may be of assistance, I believe I can construct a chess set that bleeds, Vander.
No, thank you, Talk. No.
They're probably best not talk. It's very impressive, but no, I think for many reasons, definitely, Petron's right, and definitely no.
A repugnant and disgusting idea, Talk, not worthy of a single man aboard. And Vander leans close. Do it.
As the Sterling limps through the blazing orange sunset sky, you notice a shimmer of unusual colour. Approaching the vessel are a dozen or so small creatures, their scales glistening like living jewels in the sunlight. They spiral and twirl through the air with impossible grace. Emerald, sapphire, amethyst and ruby bodies, no larger than house cats. Their butterfly wings catching the light in prismatic displays. All of you will have seen these creatures in books, but never in reality. It is a flutter of fairy dragons, playfully dancing along the side of the Sterling. One particularly bold creature, its scales shifting between opal and turquoise, hovers near the railing, cocking its head curiously at those of you watching. Its eyes sparkle with ancient mischief and kindness as it emits a soft, melodious trill that seems to ripple through the air like gentle waves. More fairy dragons join in the song, their harmonies weaving together into a spontaneous chorus that somehow soothes your souls. The dragons begin flying in formation alongside the Sterling, their wings creating miniature rainbows that stretch between cloud and hull. For those precious minutes, any danger feels distant. Even the ship seems to sail smoother, as if carried by the magic of the moment. You can all take an inspiration. Then, as suddenly as they appeared, the fairy dragons spiral upward in a synchronized column of color before dispersing into the clouds above, leaving nothing but a few softly glowing scales that float gently down to the poop deck. And with the Sterling cruising calmly towards the city of Shale, you have all reached level 9, and we will end it there.
Tok collects the scales.
More inspiration. Yeah.
You've been listening to Dice Company's Small Embers, starring Dave Windust as Petron Oakflower, Alex Morrison as Seeksorrow, Charlie Blackadder as Vander Finnick, and Harry King as Tok, with Tom Patrick as your Dungeon Master.
The humans of Dice Company would like to thank the following sweethearts for their support: Zeus Legion, Zero Nova, Sepulchre Stennet, Marky B, Jenny the War Camel, Stephen Sikora, Nori Gosler, Mickey Arnold, Happy Daddy Scotty, Tika, SJ Phionics, Richard Ungamus, Rabbi Camel, Team Stay Toxic, Path Pursuit, Paris Pakar, Liz Beckett, Julia Zeno, Shovels, Queenie, and a special extra thanks to our very own Council of Rojan, Mama Strange, Axel Runholm, and Chris from North London.
He is trying to screw. He's always trying to screw it up.
Question, yeah. It's always been so.
He's a
murky.
fucking podcast terrorist.
Pod terror.
Well, I'm comfortable with it. I think we've lost some of the vim.
Pizzazz.
Welcome one and all to Dice Company Small Embers. Heron, please introduce yourselves.
I think you started the show there to stop us gibbering.
That is all right, Augustus. There are plenty more bowls on the Sterling.
Augustus.
I was busy typing.
By the way, Finnick comes from Old Scottish and means a dwelling place in a marshland.
Well, there we go.
Whatever, but he says, punching his microphone.
Metagaming!
Sorry, because I knew it was going to ruin
Seeksorrow
it.
might have a microphone.
So I keep punching my microphone.
Stop punching your microphone.
Metagaming!
Sorry.
Yellow
I'm trying to
card.
stay in the right position, and it's fucking with my ability to move.
Lore.
Thanks for listening. Please consider supporting Dice Company on Patreon, where for the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to a whole other show, Extra Roll, as well as an ad-free listening experience. The Dice Company Discord server, along with our socials, can be found on our link tree in the show notes. If you enjoyed this chapter, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to recommend us to your friends. If you didn't like it, recommend us to your enemies. And we'll see you next time on Dice Company.